First and foremost, as always, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah HaKodash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and salutations to you, Akim, who push his word in truth and in sincerity throughout the four corners of the globe, coming back with another lesson through the Spirit. And I don't want to make this too long. But as you can see from the Fresh and Fit podcast, this is from Rumble. They have a page on Rumble as well as on YouTube. And I'll put both of these into the description box. But pretty much, as you can see, they have a guest on here. His name is Scott Ritter, which he appears on the Redacted show with Clayton and Natalie Morris. In pretty much their alternative media, the Redacted show, they go into the a different side of stories that you see in the news, or even stories that you don't see in the mainstream media. They touch upon those. They shed light upon those. So this individual here, Scott Ritter, was, I believe, both in the Army and in the Marines, and he was an intelligence officer, if I'm not mistaken. So he dealt with a lot of top secret classified information or whatnot. And ultimately we know everything is controlled, because you look at this dude's hands. That's some inside. He's letting the insiders know that they're playing along with whatever narrative they have to. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much shucking and jiving for the elites. All right. Now, despite all that, there's a whole bunch of information that Scott Ritter reveals about just how corrupt the U.S. military is. All right. And he just lays it all out there, and it's very informational. But he's pretty much letting you know that the military does not, all the wars are pretty much shaped and driven in a certain direction that the elites want them to be driven. All right, which us brothers in the truth, we understand that, we know that. All right, but the average idiot out there doesn't understand that. All right, but he lays it plain out there on the table. Okay, so as the scriptures say here in Psalm 49 verse 11, their inward thought, or excuse me, Salakia, that's not the one I want. Let me see. Psalm 64 and 8, it says, "So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away." Okay, so Esau, his own, the individuals that were, served in his military, or just putting it out there, showing the corrupt nature of Esau's rulership. He goes into the first I want to say first hour or so, he goes into the situation with Saddam in Iraq, and how they just bombed them and lied about weapons of mass destruction and so on and so forth. And there was a whole agenda behind that. All right, he just flat out, goes into it because, as he was boots on the ground. This dude actually was over there in the Middle East, in Iraq, as a weapons inspector, inspecting, the weapons that they had. All right, so he has firsthand information, and it's he goes he goes into quite a bit, and there's a lot of nuggets and jewels that you can pick up from it. It's a good watch. All right, now one thing that he also touches upon the situation with Ukraine and Russia, and he goes into depth with that, and he touches upon NATO as well being the force, America and NATO being the force backing the battery in the back of the Ukrainian military, and he explains how they're pretty much food for the meat grinder. Those Ukrainian soldiers are nothing more than meat for the meat grinder. Food for the meat grinder, pretty much being sacrificed to push the agenda of America and NATO. All right, and look at this right here, 144. All right, I try to highlight it, but there we go. 144. All right, but they're over there getting slaughtered. To forward the agenda of the U.S. and NATO. Now, as we know, all right, pertaining to prophecy, that the U.S. and NATO is nothing more than the revived Roman Empire. Collectively, it's the revived Roman Empire, and that's why you have them at odds with Russia, going so hard to attempt to take down Russia and using Ukraine as pretty much the buffer. All right, so just like in the ancient world, the Roman Empire fought tooth and nail to avoid going down, losing that power. Well, it's nothing new today. All right, we're seeing the same thing happen today. All right, so getting this here, this is Psalm 49:11. It says, "Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and the dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names." Right? So Esau's nature is doing whatever he has to do, all right, fighting tooth and nail, rape, robbery, murder, deceit, all right, theft, whatever, just to keep their rulership, their hegemony. And you see Russia fighting against NATO and the EU, not on the level of what it's going to get to, but them having a stance against Ukraine is them having a stance against America and NATO, all right, against the West, all right, and that's all a part of prophecy. All right, but NATO and the EU, backed by America, that's them, wanting that Roman Empire to flourish in the earth, to continue for all generations. Okay, and you can see that Western influence, all right, that Roman Greek influence is heavily spread upon the earth, man. You got all this alphabet agenda, sweeping various nations, all the Edomite nations, Western Europe, they're completely for, a lawless society, Canada, New Zealand, not New Zealand, so like Australia, I meant to say. All right, so anywhere where it's an Edomite country, they're completely for that Western lawless Roman Empire type governance. All right, and you got Russia that's fighting against that. All right, just how things were in the ancient world. Now this is Obadiah verse 6. It says, "How are the things of Esau searched out? How are the hidden things? How are his hidden things sought up?" All right. "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him." And you see the momentum shifting, all right, as far as influence in the world, you know, as much as the Western media demonized Vladimir Putin, you got various countries, all right, non-Edomite countries that love that dude, all right, because of his stance against the West, all right. So, you know, on a grand scale, the hidden things of Esau are pretty much not hidden anymore because of the Spirit of the Lord. All right, the way Esau, here in America in particular, has ruled the earth, and the tactics that they have used to pretty much govern with an iron fist the whole planet is made known. All right, because they've ruled with hypocrisy. All right, with deceit, and through the information age and the understanding of the scriptures being given to the Lord's prophets. All right, Esau is his tactics are not hidden anymore. On top of individuals such as this just flat out Scott Ritter just flat out telling you what it is. As they say, the saying goes, all wars are bankers' wars, and who rules the planet, man? All right, the international bankers. So all these wars that we see are nothing more than an opportunity for the people who rule the planet, the international bankers, to line their pockets. All right, and on top of that, to bring further, increased control on the planet. All right. Psalm 59:12 says, "For the sin of their mouth and the words of their lips, let them even be taken in their pride, and for cursing the lying, and lying which they speak. Consume them in wrath, consume them, that they may not be, and let them know that the Most High ruleth in Jacob unto the ends of the earth." Salah. Okay, so all Esau does, that's why you got idiots that watch the news and take that and run with it like it's gospel. Meanwhile, they're being lied to. Okay, on through witchcraft and enchantments and spells. Right now, the scriptures say that for the sin of their mouth and the words of their lips, let them even be taken in their pride, because that pride that Esau has used to control and mind fuck people is all going to backfire. Okay, because they're using this witchcraft and these spells and this hypnosis, via social media, via the news, via the internet, to rock people to sleep. Okay, and people are being force-fed lies. People are being force-fed, Soylent Green. You know what I'm saying? Like, everything in this society is not real. Everything you consume, whether it's visually, sonically, all right, through the respiratory system, okay, whether your digestive system, everything is fake. Okay, it's all a lie. It's all deceit. But the Lord is going to have that backfire on Esau. It's all going to backfire. Okay, as it says, consume them in wrath, consume them that they may not be. And Esau, his armies and all that, as it says in Revelation, is going to be destroyed, man. His power structure is not going to be, all right. The Russians is not going to be, the Greeks, the Israelis, the Americans, the British, the French, the Spanish, you name it. Esau is not going to be. After that, first and foremost, the power structure is going to all be destroyed. After that, they themselves are going to be destroyed. All Edomites will be destroyed. Okay? And that's going to be the result of being a devil on the planet Earth. All right? Job 15:6, it says, thine own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thine own lips testify against thee. So once again, this dude being an Edomite is this dude Scott Ritter being an Edomite is just, pretty much telling on himself. Because he's an Edomite. He partook in the shenanigans pertaining to, the various missions and things of that nature that he had to, or that he was part of, should I say. All right. So, prophecy is unfolding, and it's beautiful to see. Okay. Now, going back to, that Roman Empire, because that's what we're seeing with NATO and the EU. All right. In particular, NATO dealing with the war the war side of that conglomerate. All right. NATO is that pretty much a war alliance, all right, with those European nations, okay, including America and Canada. All right. So this is Revelation 13, and that's, like I said, the revived Roman Empire. It says, Revelation 13:1, it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Okay. So that 7 heads and 10 horns, okay, that beast is representing the Roman Empire. Okay, the 7 heads and the 10 horns. The 7 heads is the different ruling nations of Esau. All right, because at one point in time, all those major European countries had their time to govern. All right. So the 7 heads, first and foremost, the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns is NATO. Okay. The 7 heads is 7 governments or kingdoms ruled by Esau. Okay. So in the ancient world, it was Germania Major, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, Germania Minor, the British, and the Greeks. All right, it started with the Greeks. Okay, so the 10 horns represent the common market of the European Economic Community, EEC, which was established in 1958. Okay, and today the EEC is known as the EU, all right, or the European Union. And that was started with, Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Spain, and Portugal, England, Ireland, and West Germany. Okay, so those are the 10 horns. Okay. Verse 2, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Okay. So in verse 2, that leopard represents the Greeks, because you had Alexander the Greek, who used to wear a leopard's head, apparel, or he had, he was known for wearing that leopard's head. Okay, and that's the start of, Esau's, rulership. Okay, the bear represents Russia. and the lion represents Great Britain. All right, um, and the dragon represents that Roman Empire. Okay, because the Roman Empire was very, very cruel, uh, and very vicious with war. Uh, they had weapons. They used that iron to pretty much you know they were known for using iron, which is a strong metal pertaining to war in that day and time. Okay. Um, this is the point here, verse 3. It says, "And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast." All right, so that wound that was healed, that was wounded to death, was the Roman Empire, because at a certain point in time, you had the Roman Empire that was ruled by Edomites pretty much get transferred over. As far as power, it got transferred over to Israelites. You know, uh, Israelites ended up getting into power, and then it was known as the Holy Roman Empire. All right, I believe in it. 325 A.D. if I'm not mistaken. That's when you had Constantine that incorporated paganism and or Christianity, so to say, mixed with that paganism. Um, you know, and Apostle Gabar had just went into that recently. But Jake, we ruled for a period of 1,000 years, and then after that you had the Renaissance, which was Esau coming back into power. All right, so that wound was healed, because the Renaissance being the rebirth, meaning the rebirth, that's when Esau got back into power. All right, and since he got back into power, we see that he's fought tooth and nail to pretty much keep that rulership going, which is why we see today NATO going so hard with backing Ukraine in the war that they have with Russia, and sending aid in weapons via the United States over there to the Ukrainians. All right, which I believe they said they've sent billions of dollars already, and I believe there was $6 billion that was unaccounted for on the part of the U.S. government, or something like that. I think 3 billion in one package was unaccounted for, and then another 2 billion was unaccounted for, or another 3 billion, or was it 5 billion total, something like that, that was unaccounted for. But pretty much, America and NATO being, the revived Roman Empire is going hard, in trying to, take down the Russians, all right, which is nothing more than the revived Roman Empire doing what they've done in times past, all right, before they were wounded unto death, all right. Ezekiel 38:1, it says, "And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal." All right, and Gog and Magog is referring to the Russians, because when you look at an ancient map, the land of Gog and Magog today would be considered Russia. All right. It says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, and all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. even the great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. All right, and it's going into those allies that Gog and Magog, aka Russia, is going to have, with it. But the point is that the Lord said He's going to put hooks into the jaws of the Russians and turn them back, meaning that they're going to go back to that old USSR type spirit that they had, pertaining to them fighting against NATO, the U.S., the Israelis, all right, pretty much to revive Roman Empire. So what we see going on over there in that region of Ukraine and Russia and Western, or more so Eastern Europe, is all part of prophecy. All right, it's all part of prophecy. But as the scriptures say, their tongue is falling upon themselves, man. Because now, in real time, when we see what's going on with the war, we know what's what. We can decipher and see through the smoke. We don't have to wait for the smoke to clear to know what was what, or who did what. In ancient times past, at one point in time, people thought that 9/11 was real, and Pearl Harbor and Vietnam War, you get lied to, and World War I and World War II, but it took years for people to realize and figure out, okay, this war was really about this. All right, this side really was the antagonist, so on and so forth. Well, now through the information age, the internet, and ultimately prophecy, we see exactly what's going on, man. To where we know the next move to a certain degree, so to say. All right, and that's through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, through the Word. So that's pretty much what I want to bring out. And Lord willing, this was edifying. Until next time, Shalom.